On behalf of the city, we're going to call this special joint city-county meeting together for Monday, August the 22nd, 6 p.m. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Shalong? Here. Councilmember Ania?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Murray? Here. Mayor Slurt?
I'm here. Thank you.
And for the record, Councilmember Westfall is absent.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Do you want me to read this first? Yes. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte and the governing body of all other special assessment and taxing districts for which said board so acts is now meeting in special session. Only those items that indicate a specific time will be heard at the assigned time. All other items may be taken out of sequence to accommodate the public and staff availability. Would you take the roll, please, Jeremy?
Supervisor Finnegan?
Here.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Here.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Here.
Supervisor McClure?
Here.
Supervisor McNamer?
Here.
Can we do the pledge? Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just articulate.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you have the record reflect that Ms. Westfall joined us?
Yes, sir.
Before we get started, I just thought I would take a moment to acknowledge and allow the council to introduce our new city manager, Gene Palazzo, now in his third week. And he's been huddling behind the scenes and in the front of the scenes with Jay recently to put this agenda together tonight. So welcome, Gene. We're happy to have you here, and this is the first joint meeting with the city and the county that you've participated in. He's a good man, hard worker, and look forward to his legacy that he brings to Crescent City.
I would just like to comment also, Gene, that I have been involved in one meeting with him, and I'm happy to say that I was very impressed at how up to speed you were already when we had that meeting. I thought, how could he have taken all this in already? So we really appreciate that too.
Welcome. I guess I'll read from the for communications regarding public comment period. Any member of the audience is invited to address the City Council, and in this case, the Board of Supervisors, on any matter that was within the jurisdiction of the City of Crescent City. Comments of public interest or on matters appearing on the agenda are accepted. Note, however, that the Council is not able to undertake extended discussion or act on non-agendized items. Such items can be referred to the staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on a future agenda. Any comments that are not made at the microphone are out of order and will not be part of the public record. After receiving recognition from the mayor, please state your name, and if you're from the city or the county residency, for the record, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Is there public comment? Mr. Miles.
My name's Richard Miles. I live in the city. I also consider myself a county resident. I have to say tonight that I'm disturbed about something, and I'm going to tell you what it is. About 2 weeks ago, two little old ladies came and got me and took me over to the cemetery. They had me pull dandelions. I laughed. Then we got almost chased away from the Oddfellows sexton over there. Then I learned from a reliable source that wants to remain anonymous some history of our cemetery. Then I tried to get a hold of Jerry Cochran, but he's always out of town because Jackie chases him out of town. Then I found something else out. I went and talked to somebody at the Elks. That gentleman gave me a whole bunch of gas. Then I called a department head at the county, and I learned something that really disappoints me. My county owns 2 pieces of property in the cemetery. One of them is a veterans cemetery, and like Leslie knows, there's a pauper cemetery in there. Someday that's where I want to be put, is the county's pauper cemetery. But what really disappoints me is that my city is allowing Richard and Nia, a number of homeless people back there, and I'd like to invite Richard and Nia and the chief of police and the sheriff back there to see the number of destroyed headstones. If this people who pass away in this community can't lay in rest, there's really a problem. And what really bothers me is there's a large piece of property that belongs to my city back there. My city has owned it for a large number of years. It's an urban forest. My city isn't smart enough to realize that there is some timber back there that could be cut or could be sequentialed, I think that's the word, and carbon credits could be sold on that property.
Thank you, Richard.
It's really disappointing.
Thank you. Is there other public comment?
Is that new business?
Ms. Morrison? Anything?
Okay. You're in charge tonight? I have questions about this.
Never mind, it went over your head.
Do you actually want to present it to the city manager? Please, thank you.
It's in the city or the county, which are you addressing?
Is it the city or the county?
Both. That's why it's great that everybody's here.
Share that with Jay.
Okay. Yeah, I was just,
What
Jean,
is,
you'll have to share that with Jay, please.
well, I'll loan you a couple more if you want to look along. Let's see. It's about the former McNamara and Pape Corporation appointed trustee bankrupt, and the toxic waste. Also, this here. This is the same one he has. You want to give it to Jay?
Yeah, so he has this.
Okay, and what my questions are is a bunch of us have gotten together because we're tired of all this toxic waste, and you're spending money on taking down the tsunami landing, and nobody ever addresses this. And I've talked about the cancer and all the different things that are toxic and it could cause cancer that are from the toxins. And this one kind of spells it out. It was like for 40 years. It's been. Are you aware? Is everybody aware of this? Well, I wasn't. I wouldn't have ever moved here if I knew how much toxic waste there was, or built where I built. And they talk about that PVCs are everywhere. They're on the dirt. They're in the water. They built a pool to soak the lumber in that's 5 feet above the groundwater, and it leached for 40 years into the groundwater and traveled through the tributaries and out, and it's under the school. And what my question is what have you done about it? There's an order here from 1990 to clean it up, and I was wondering how far you are and what is the plan to continue cleaning it up. And then this is where Walmart is, and these are the leaking underground storage tanks. Did you want to hear any more about this?
Leaking underground what?
storage tanks. This is within 2 miles of Walmart, all these. And you are expanding Walmart with a negative impact on the environment. I don't know how you can do that. But anyway, we're going to get together with the EPA or somebody, if you guys aren't going to deal with this, and find out how to deal with it.
Thank you, Ms. Marston.
You're welcome.
Does somebody on the dais want to respond? It's my understanding that Phase 1 had actually been initiated at the old McNamara Peep site, Phase 1 cleanup.
Well, my understanding is there was money available a long time ago, and it was used for, the money that was available for the cleanup has all been used up. Am I correct, Jay?
I really wasn't involved in all of the history on it, but there was a Phase 1 cleanup on it. There's been numerous aspects of this. Obviously, it's not under the ownership of the city or the county, is my understanding. It was part of a trust for many years. At this point, it is in tax default, and there is actually, for a portion of that property, an application into Prop 84 that would assist in part of the cleanup, but it isn't the complete cleanup of every bit of property that's out there, including the ponds. But yeah, through most of the history of this property, this is private-owned land that has gone into tax default.
It's 40 acres of private-owned land, starting from 7th Street on Safeway, and then it's everywhere else.
Actually, Ms. Marston, we actually know about it. But people do know about it, actually, and work has been done.
We can't have a side discussion. Richard, please.
Thank you.
There's no side discussions. Thank you.
Is there other public comment? Mr. Salisbury.
Segue on what she was saying. I was kind of wondering which site she was talking about. I mean, being that we used to do a lot of logging and mining and fishing and stuff here, there's a lot of those sites. I think every place that cut logs had their own diesel tanks, and and all the gas stations, they all had their tanks that leaked. One of them came to mind. I remember a mom and pop gas station here on the highway in front of what is now Undersea or Ocean World, and the city gave Mrs. Brown, I believe her name is, the wife of her sheriff, gave her some money to knock that down and clean up the tanks. I don't know if she ever did. I know she was supposed to put a parking lot in there, and it's still a dirt lot. Anyway, I came here tonight because I found out that there was a meeting, only because I listened to the very end of the city council meeting, and your last words were, there's a meeting on the 22nd. It wasn't agendized on the city site or the county site.
May I? Putting it on the website is basically just something to be nice with the public. It's not required.
Okay, well,
The
you're not being
agenda-
nice. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm still going.
I'm stopping your time for just a second. I wanted to also say is that I do post it at the city hall, at the county, and as well as a full agenda is available for you at City Hall.
Okay. Well, we've been fighting for years and years to be able to get this on an agenda on the computer so that we don't have to, go down at the very last minute on Monday or whatever. With the city, the agenda is posted at the end of business. Sometimes we can't get in there, or it's posted at the end of the business day where we're not allowed to.
Sorry.
I would like to also say that we post outside of this building,
Right.
so it doesn't matter if it's past business hours.
Well,
Post-
see, we're afforded the opportunity to see a very limited agenda. We don't get to see the full agenda. We hope to be able to look into it online. At the city, I don't believe I'm going into this with her. At the city, the agenda is posted on Friday at the end of business. We're not allowed to have any access to it on Saturday or Sunday because you're closed. And then Manic Monday rolls around, and there's nobody in the office to explain anything that's even going on there. This is what I was speaking of. But on this particular case, there wasn't anything on the agenda. Here's a calendar for the county.
No.
Are we going to put up with this all day?
I didn't
Mr.
hear what he
Miles?
said.
Well, he said something. I came here to talk about a crosswalk up at the top of Cooper Hill. We put in a stop sign up there, and there's sidewalks there, and there's a lot of traffic that goes over there. I think that it's deserving of a crosswalk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salisbury. Is there other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment.
Madam Chair, I would like to note
Yes.
one thing. I'm sorry.
Mr. Black.
There's an item that has arisen after the posting of the agenda, and I apologize, this is city business only, but we have an item that's arisen after the posting of the agenda. It requires action before the next regular meeting, and it concerns the need for a closed session to discuss the case of Barnes versus City of Crescent City. I was wondering if your council would mind adding that as a closed session after all other regular business is accommodated.
Very
I
good.
would move to approve adding an emergency item after the posting of the agenda for a city council closed session after the business meeting has ended.
You have a motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Black, do we need public comment on that?
It wouldn't hurt to reopen for that specific item, sorry to say.
Okay. Mr. Miles?
I had the opportunity today to visit Jim Barnes' office. I'd like to make a suggestion. I hear that Bob will have to go to court again next week. Well, I hope he takes some photograph that is in Jim's possession that the concrete company, Hemingson Construction, and some other people have taken of our famous walkthrough.
It's not related.
A number of years ago, when the posts were established, well, I can't show you the right size finger.
A point of order, the discussion is, should this item come onto the agenda?
Right.
Yes.
It's not, that's the end of the discussion, there's no detail of the discussion, so point of order that your comment needs to be only tied to the motion of urgency.
I think there is an urgency because I
We've
think,
accepted the urgency, but that's your only avenue of comment.
Thank you, Mr.
well,
Miles.
here's again,
Mr. Miles.
you read our newspaper, Martha,
Mr. Miles?
and people, some of them just left the room, says the city's making a mistake by tearing down the breezeway.
Mr. Miles, thank you.
I believe there are a number of reasons to tear it down. And Tony Barnes needs to get a life because I don't think he's got a leg to stand on.
Sounds like you guys better talk about litigation. You might get sued again.
Okay, we'll move to new business.
Madam Chair, could I make one comment on one of the items that was turned in that might assist with Ms. Morrison's research?
Yes.
I was just looking at the leaking underground storage tank list that was on here, and just as a point, you may want to look at all of these very closely because I see at least 2 of those that I know for a fact have been cleaned up. So you might want to see if the Regional Water Quality Control Board can whittle this one down for you. And I'm looking at...
We haven't approached any of the agencies yet.
Okay, and...
This is a research phase, I've got to talk to you first about
Yeah, and I just wanted to help you out on this one because 500 Cooper Street is the county road yard, and that one was cleaned up several years ago because I worked on that one. I'm kind of familiar with it. And right below that is Delmar Unified School District. I also was kind of involved in that one too at the time. And as you go through this list, I think the majority that I see here are all tanks that have been removed and cleaned. So just for, quite a few of them that I can see, at least on page 2.
Well, I've been around here.
Excuse me.
Just a point that you might want to take a look at those.
Okay, so we'll move forward with new business, and at this time, item number 2, we will consider and/or approve an amended memorandum of understanding between the City of Crescent City and the County of Del Norte. Mr. Palazzo and Mr. Serena, do you want to introduce the idea?
We flipped a coin and I lost. So
We're keeping it at 70%.
I won't read the entire staff report that I wrote. It's very similar to what Mr. Palazzo has in his, because we sat down and did this together over the last week, along with Janine originally. And to hit some of the high points in the MOU, there were items in the MOU that had been addressed several years ago. And over time, we've been able to review and establish whether or not some of the ratios or percentages are correct or need to be changed. To go over some of those, the building inspection and plan check service that the city provides, or the county provides to the city. Originally, it was 70% of the funds would go to the county, 30% to the city. And over time, it was determined and agreed upon that it's more of an 80-20 switch, so that's been corrected in the MOU, which means that 80% would go to the county, 20% to the city. Conversely, on the engineering services that are provided by the city to the county, there have been some changes in wages in regards to the covering the costs of the city, which should be proportionally paid for by the county. And that's reflected in the new MOU. The next item in here was the tower climbing gear and services. We have county personnel that were certified to climb towers, and what was discussed at the last meeting was providing some tower climbing gear through Crescent City Fire, and my understanding is that's been done. And so at this point, it would be a quid pro quo, and when there were services required by the city for climbing, they'd get a hold of our IT division, and when we needed to climb a tower, we would get the equipment from the city. In regards to some of the coordination of services, code enforcement continues to occur. There is an ordinance that must be passed, though, and we'll have to work on getting that ordinance consistent between the city and county and get those on the books. And that is for the ability of the city code enforcement officer to come into the county and vice versa. County service area maintenance, it continues. It's been successful in the past and has continued to occur with no changes. Grants and housing, I know that there has been relatively good communication back and forth. We do provide a service. The city provides a service. They are different services, but as far as the community development block grant, I know there's been a lot of discussion between Jim Carnegie and Ms. Mazie on the other side to make sure that all of the nonprofits are served as much as can be served through each funding source. And if anybody has ever been through that process to see the work that has to occur to get everybody on the same track and get as much money to the nonprofits as possible, you'd be very impressed, because it requires a lot of cooperation amongst everybody. Information technology, again, software and hardware purchasing, it's available. I know that Fritz and Dan are in communication, and that occurs whenever needed. Law enforcement efforts and programs, I'm not quite as up to speed on that, and I don't know if the chief would want to speak to it at this point, but I know that through the OES process, law enforcement, both city and county, have worked very well together. I can attest to that through the tsunami. Planning and land use. This is one of the issues that I think Eugene and I will sit down and talk about, since we both have kind of a background in planning and land use along with the combined staffs. It's one of the more difficult ones to address. My humble opinion is that as you get into the planning and land use side, there are inherently going to be decisions made at the city level that may need the city's opinion and maybe not a joint opinion, and vice versa with the county. And I'm not saying that I don't think that this can be done, because in the right situation and with the right structure, I do think that it could be accomplished. But there are going to be some things that need to be worked out. We certainly have people that can assist through planning and land use to the city right now. And with Eugene coming on board, obviously his expertise in planning will be of great assistance to the city. So that might lead into something that we can work a structure out at a later date that would assist both entities. The last one on here, without going too quickly, but was the administrative hearing officer. Currently, the county provides through a separate agreement the services of a hearing officer. It's been about 2 years since that contract was let, and we are currently going through an RFQ process to see if there are other people that might be interested at the same price, and see if there's some people out there that would possibly be interested beyond what we had the first time. Essentially, the first time this went out, only one person was really capable or interested in doing it at the price that was put out at the time. And so at this point, those were the main points that were brought up at the last meeting that have been accomplished. One of the others that was directed was dealing with the CSA and the transfer of the CSA in the county service areas, which are the sewer lines essentially, and the lift station over to the city. At this point, I think there's a lot of research and potentially some legal aspects that are going to have to be dealt with before that could even be considered in a recommendation brought by staff. And I would recommend at this point that we deal with that at a future meeting and allow staff to look into the possibilities and some of the structures that might be out there. Another issue happened to be the Sunset Circle parcel, and I've looked into it probably as far as I can go without getting into a title company, and possibly some additional research. That was a parcel that was transferred to the county as part of a land transfer several years ago with the involvement of Stimson and Millerellum. And there was a portion that was purchased through the general fund, or land transfers that were done through the county general fund, and a portion that was actually done with the road fund, which is a separate fund from the county. And so putting a value to that property has been very difficult for me. I'm not an expert in that, and I think I'm going to have to go out and look into further into the situation on what was traded, because what it was primarily a transfer in the general fund and not a lot of cash. So there's values on timber, and at that point I put it on hold until such time as I could get some direction to look into probably either a title company or some other type of real estate professional. Those were the main points that were written up in here, and today's direction that we would like to receive would be to get direction from both the City Council and the Board of Supervisors to continue research on the county service areas. And although I didn't put it in my staff report, Sunset Circle would be another one of those that we'd like to have direction to continue to research and bring back to the respective boards, council.
Great. Thanks for that report, Jay. I would just offer that in his review of these various line items, there's something like 10 to 12 line items, and it just shows that your elected officials and the staffs of the county and the city are actually working in cooperation to better serve the community and to deal with efficiencies and economies. So I think this is very beneficial to update and to make the adjustments that we're going through at this time. Is there any comments by the council?
I had one question.
Please.
On the 70/30, 80/20 split, are those based on hard costs?
Those were based on hours, basically the amount of time put in to do the plan checks and also do the inspections. So yes, essentially hard cost.
Other questions, clarifications? Ms. Westphal.
On attachment 2, page 8, item L, city engineer to act as county engineer at $72.10 an hour within a 2-week pay period not to exceed 32 hours. Is that updating First Amendment to Agreement, page 1 of 3, where he was reimbursed, the city's reimbursed at $62.40 an hour. Are we going now to an increase in his rate?
That's correct.
Yes.
An increase in the reimbursement.
Yes, I understand it's an
For his
increase in the
time.
reimbursement. Okay. My question is that, two questions actually, one having to do with oversight on the MOU, and the second is that what happens when someone like Jim Barnes or one of his business partners wants to put up a low-income or type of apartments? Who then is in charge so that it doesn't become a conflict of interest?
If Mr. Barnes had a conflict of interest, as far as the counties would proceed, is we may have to go to a outside engineer if we didn't have a licensed engineer available. And we do have professional service lines to accomplish that.
And who is in charge of oversight of this MOU? Are they the various departments, or is it a particular person, or how does are the county and the city, the board of supervisors and the city council are the ultimate oversight?
Ultimate oversight is the Board of Supervisors, City Council.
Okay.
The day-to-day oversight would come from individual departments and Mr. Palazzo and myself, and
Okay.
County Council and the city attorney.
All right, thank you.
I have a question, if I could. On attachment number 1, number R, the services, and I see you're going out for, to recruit a hearing officer. Can the city participate in that interview? Because it says it's only the county. Would you consider changing that to have the city have some input in picking the people that do that?
To go over the one application?
I mean, if there's more than, when you go out, if there's
I was
other
just
people.
being
Yeah.
funny.
I was wondering if the county would consider having a city person
Certainly.
also sit in on the interview.
Certainly, yeah. We, in that situation, a lot of times it's a matter of bringing in this case, we probably have a council or two as well as staff, so certainly we could bring in the city.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a good comment, because we actually discussed that of our participation.
Is there other questions from the council? Okay.
Any questions from board members?
Oh, Madam Chair, I'd move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Crescent City and the county of Del Norte put forward as amendment to a previous MOU.
Second. Is that also to include Sunset Circle? No. No?
I didn't see where,
If we could get direction
Sunset Circle's
only
next.
for further research.
Right.
Okay.
I just made motion on the written amendment is proposed. The written MOU is proposed.
Yes, the amended memorandum. I have a motion and a second.
Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate that you want to continue to work on the CSA discussion in Sunset Circle. I also have a couple of things that I would like to possibly throw into the hat, and that is that the Office of Emergency Services, I don't know if we have a combined plan on oil spill in the area, and if we don't, I would like to see that as a joint training and planning. And then also the possibility that in the future, would it be wise for our road yards to be on the same type of location, since it's industrial and sometimes maybe one crusher could be used, or one piece of equipment could be probably co-located and possibly used by both entities, saving some money. And it's just an idea. I have no idea where to put it, but it's something that I would like to see this joint memorandum and the minds kind of coming together to think about. And I think it's okay to throw it in at this time, just to add to your to-do list. Yeah, to explore.
I think that's a good idea, Martha. I never considered before the oil spills, and that should be a joint effort.
Training
It
dollars
affects the whole
available statewide,
county,
but we should
including
be
the city.
tapping them to make sure that they're here.
And if I could, on the oil spill and response, we are part of a JPA. We do pay into a hazmat crew that comes up from Humboldt County. That's the only way it makes it economically feasible to do it. But I will also speak with Cindy Henderson, because oil spill doesn't necessarily fall into OES every time, but it does environmental health, and they do eventually commingle, especially if you do have a disaster. So we will talk about that.
Just piggybacking on what you said about facilities, we've been working on this for a long time, and just to let the public know that just because it isn't in the written MOU or direction was specifically given, like with Sunset Circle or OES, there's a long list, a myriad of things that we've talked about, and one of those things was whether it's joint recreation, was joint road department, sharing facilities, so that's always been on the book and will continue to be. Hopefully we'll get to add it someday.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Richard?
Just a thought before you do that, is if the city and the county are going to be doing this together, can we combine our public comments?
Yes. So if you'll wait just a second.
I would move to
Richard.
approve, on behalf of the city council, the amended memorandum of understanding between the city of Crescent City and the county of Del Norte.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you.
Oh, now.
I have a challenge for you people, because I'd like to challenge. My question is, why can't you people really think out of the box? And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. I believe it's time that my city and my county enter into a discussion of consolidation. And I'll tell you why I say this. A good example is what I've been seeing the last couple of days. I see the sheriff's department go up Cooper Hill. I see the police department come down Cooper Hill. I see a fire station and property that a fire district owns that's in the county. We're looking for another site for our fire station that's outside of the run-up zone. But we don't enter into joint discussions. Then we have this boogeyman that I like to call the Solid Waste Task Force and the Solid Waste Authority. I think both my county and my city are losing out in revenue because they won't enter into a joint discussion of dissolving solid waste and going after franchise fees. But you people aren't famous for thinking out of the box. I think it's time you start. Because one of these days you're going to have a tax revolt on your hands. Because my economy here locally, when there is...
Richard, you're supposed to just be speaking to this motion.
Well, I am, because I think you could add a list, a long list to it, but you won't.
Thank you.
Is there other public comment? Okay, we'll close.
This is item number 3, right?
Item number 2.
I'll bring it back to the board for further discussion. Any comments from supervisors? Hearing none, Jeremy, would you poll the vote, please?
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor McClure?
Yes.
Supervisor McNeamer?
Yes.
And Madam Clerk, would you pull the vote for the council?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Westfall? Councilmember Shalong?
Yes.
Councilmember Ania?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murray?
Yes.
And Mayor Slurt.
Yes. So the motion carries unanimously for the city council.
Carries unanimously for the board.
Very good, thank you. Okay, new business, item number 3. Consider and approve an agreement between Del Norte County CSA and the City of Crescent City for construction administration services related to the reconstruction of the Elk Valley and Harbor Seafood Processing lift stations. Mr. Barnes.
As I know you remember, the three-party agreement that was thought up by Eric Weir and really is a benefit to the harbor and the CSA as well as the city, allows the Elk Valley lift station, which had a very long and too small of a force main to be to use the harbor force main, which is a 12-inch force main, to supplement the force and is a replacement to the 8-inch force main that the county originally had. And the problem was we really couldn't get enough flow through that 8-inch force main, and so putting the three-party agreement together allowed the harbor, the Elk Valley lift station to go into the harbor force main, which is a 12-inch, which is twice as big as the 8-inch or a little more. So that also, the CSA then provided, by purchasing a portion of that 12-inch, provided the money for the harbor lift station to be upgraded and bring the harbor treatment plant to where the city could take that over as basically a new lift station that had the controls and the electrical systems that we really need to make it all work. Well, the problem is when you have two lift stations, Elk Valley and Harbor, pumping into the same force main, there's some dynamics that takes place that isn't natural and normal. So as we get closer to the season where the Elk Valley lift station is going to start having some problems again, we need basically to put both the harbor and the Elk Valley lift stations out at the same time because they both need to be upgraded at the same time. Well, the cost for the Elk Valley lift station is going to be borne by the CSA. The cost of the harbor is going to be borne by the harbor. But to make it all work, the city is actually doing all of this, is putting it out to bid, and the harbor's paying for its design. CSA's paying for its design. And so what we want to do tonight is for the CSA to authorize staff to put out an RFP for the Elk Valley lift station, the city to authorize the city staff, the city to authorize city staff to put the harbor lift station out. And the agreement allows for the reimbursement from the harbor to the city. So, and that's already in place. And so I think there was also a budget adjustment, which would be basically construction funds for cash flow purposes while the contractor's working, city pays, gets reimbursed from the harbor. And so we needed those actions so we can get this project out to bid, and we thought while we had everybody together it'd be a good time to do that. Plus the season is getting a little far along. It's hard to believe that we're looking at the wet season already. I'm just starting to warm up. So that's the action we're talking about taking. And do you have any questions on that?
Ms. Long.
Sorry. The $150,000 that would be reimbursed, does that count all of the city's administration costs?
Yeah.
Okay.
We think that lift station would be less than $100,000. We have and I guess that really is all that we have to do for that lift station is put it together, and it won't be all that much work, but there will be some work involved.
Yes. Are you through? On Roto-Rooter, can you describe the process and what they do to assist the lift stations in keeping up with the flows?
Say that again to me.
On Roto-Rooter?
Oh. Well, for the Elk Valley lift station, the pumps are pumping, again, like I mentioned, against a long and small force main. And the pumps themselves aren't really big enough to handle the flows that they're getting at the Elk Valley Lift Station. So when we get a storm, the Roto-Rooter comes in and pumps flow out of the sewer system. And so we're pumping flows from the lift station that's coming in, and it's going to the treatment plant. But then that really can't keep up, so Roto-Rooter brings 2 or 3 trucks in. They pump out of that same system and haul it downtown and dump into the sewer system just to keep up, because the lift station at this point can't. And that's during storm events that happens.
And Ms. Westfall, I think actually a few months ago you had a question in one of our council meetings about the cost associated with Roto-Rooter, and that's exactly the cost that's involved.
Yeah, and that's a CSA cost.
Yeah.
They pay those folks directly.
In other words, the city shouldn't be paying for Roto-Rooter?
No, we never pay for Roto. Well, I shouldn't say we never pay for Roto-Rooter. There's times that we use Roto-Rooter, especially if we're cleaning out lift stations or have an extraordinary event, that they may come and help, because they have nice big Vector trucks that are handy in times of need.
But the one on Elk Valley, when Roto-Rooter goes there, that's paid for by the Community Services District, not the city.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, just one more question, Jim. When Roto-Rooter dumps this septage, does that put additional burden on our wastewater treatment plant at that point?
They don't dump septage with the city at this point.
What do you call it when they're cleaning out
Well,
pump stations?
Well, then that's not septage. That comes out of a septic tank. What we have them do is there's a crust that builds up on the top of the surface of the lift station, because as you get fluid into the lift station, you get greases.
Some of us haven't had dinner yet.
So what we're doing is we're building new submersible pumps that keep this from happening. But if you're just pumping the liquid down below, if you get things that float in the lift station, it builds up this hairy, greasy, miserable crust. And so Roto-Rooter comes in and busts it up and sucks it up, and then we have a special place they dump that, and we put it in bins and take it to the dump. But that's basically how that works, and the liquid drains off. And no, but that's basically how that works, and that's why we hire Roto-Rooter.
So these types of things can explain why people see 3 Roto-Rooter trucks coming at midnight down A Street to...
No. If they're coming at midnight, it would be during a storm for Elk Valley Lift Station. There's no other reason they'd be there at midnight, unless we had a failure in one of our lift stations in Needham, which I can't remember that happening. So that's how that works.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Are there other council questions, clarifications? I had one, Jim. Given the financial challenges of the Harbor District right now, do they have a programmed schedule payment for these services? And will they be able to meet those schedule payments in that they're dipping into the reserves, or do they have another account for that?
Well, what I would like to do, see that CSA gave them the money that they need to do this. I would hope that they would have put it in a place where they can now pay for it, because that's what it was for. What we're asking tonight is to put the RFP out, and so that we can get proposals back. And once we get the proposals back, then you'll see what it's going to cost to do these things. And then each of you, be it the city or the harbor or the CSA, then can say, and we certainly go to the harbor, this is how much it's going to cost you. Are you ready to do it and pay for it?
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, if I could, I'd like to move to approve the agreement for construction administration services between the county CSA and the city of Crescent City, and authorize the chair to sign it.
Second. I have a motion and a second. We need to pull the vote on this, Chairman.
I would move to approve on behalf of the city to authorize the city to do a $150,000 budget transfer to accommodate the construction administration services and reconstruction of the Elk Valley and Harbor seafood processing lift stations to be reimbursed to the city after we go out to bid and complete the project
Second.
for $150.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second with the council.
Is that all you needed, Jim? At the end, I said, after, yeah, something like that. Which includes going out to bid.
Is there public comment?
Any public comment for the county also?
Mr. Miles?
Well, I'm glad my city and county are thinking positive on a project, because if we don't fix the inflow and the infiltration that we have out in Elk Valley. But I have a concern, and I hope there's David and Charles and some other people that occasionally meet with the El Rancho people out there. We have a historical, especially in the wintertime, of these systems failing because we have the county, CSA, we have Birch Track, and we have the Indians going to someday develop a casino out there, which would add additional hookups and the additional need for pumping. Are we thinking out of the box to make sure when we do fix these two lift stations, the one at the harbor and the one at Elk Valley, that we'll have the capability in the future to meet the needs of probably one of the areas that can grow in Del Norte County?
Thank you, Mr. Miles. I'll actually address your question. I've had several conversations with Mr. Barnes and the Elk Valley Rancheria people, and this effort will actually provide for their full capacity in the future at this time.
I'd just like to make a comment if I could.
Please.
I've been involved with this, I think, since I think we were at the very first meeting, Mr. Barnes, and I think Eric was there, and I want to thank them both for thinking inside the box, because all the pieces were there. We just needed a way to make it work. And they did a great job, and I'd like to commend them both for coming up with a plan. And Eric, I think Jim gave you credit for it, and hopefully that's the case. I think you did a great job. We really appreciate it. This is one of those situations where it's a win-win-win. The community is going to benefit from this greatly, and it is going to address all the problems that Mr. Miles, after Jim Barnes had explained everything and Mr. Miles went over it again, it is going to alleviate all the issues that we were talking about. But it's a great plan. We've been for it since we've been talking about it, and I think it's a great deal.
Thank you. Any other comments from?
Yeah, I just had a thought about Elk Valley Casino and their expansion. How many rooms are we talking about, and how many hookups are we talking about? And what portion of this will they be paying, either through hookup fees or et cetera?
As the Rancheria develops and finalizes their plan, and they'll come back with what they're doing, their flows, and then we'll go through all of that. But until they do, we really don't know the answer, and they're still formulating what they're planning on doing. So,
but the capacity is there.
We're putting in pumps that will deal with that issue with the Elk Valley Rancheria. And the thing about pumps and motors, you don't like changing them out very often, but they're not what's expensive. And if you have to, usually you change the impeller in a pump. You do certain things, but the main infrastructure is there, and so it makes it easy to do. And throughout the CSA, we have pretty old lift stations, and so as years go by, we're going to upgrade all of those lift stations to where they should be now. So,
Wait, Jim, before you leave, I have just one or two more questions for clarification. And that goes to the issue of capacity and expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. Let's say they were going to do a 500-room equivalent expansion on their casino that included restaurants and convention center. Can you do a quick calculation on what the equivalent hookups would be?
No. What we usually do, you say you have a hotel, that's something. You have restaurants, that's something else. We have to see what they're going to have. There's no reason to speculate. We'll see, and we'll talk about it when that time comes, because you know how things change.
Well, the city and the county meet with the Rancheria on a regular, the city meets with the Rancheria on a regular basis, and they have changed their plans several times, and they still don't have an actual final plan. So, just moving pieces.
Well, this is the point I'm getting to, that if our expansion component of the wastewater treatment plant is 11.8%, then won't we soon be out of hookup capacity? That's my ultimate question.
Jesus, I just want.
And the answer is no. We're going to be, we've got the infrastructure at the treatment plant now, to where as we make smaller adjustments, it allows for much more capacity. The way the treatment plant was before, it was so antiquated, and the equipment was, I mean, that's really a good word for it. It's antiquated, and so now we just need to upgrade the components a little bit, and it expands the capacity at a much lesser cost. And so as we get the hookup fees, we make changes. And
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Is there other public comment? Ms. Morrison. On this item number 3?
Pardon?
On this item number 3?
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't care. Whoever's in charge, sounds like everybody is. I'm amazed that you just voted $150,000, that they'll pay $150,000 for the harbor to pay you after you find out what it will cost. I don't know, however you did that. But anyway, I have here you're going to have a meeting on September of this year. Let's see, September 29th. From the harbor owes $177,000 now for spillage and violations from the old wastewater treatment plant, and well, they do. You guys.
She addresses us. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of like the peanut game. You know, you're shaking your head yes. You guys sound like you're in cahoots with each other anyway. I don't understand how they owe $177,000 cahoots, yeah. That means that
we're working together?
You got a deal to tear down the tsunami thing.
With each other.
Yeah. And got paid $200-something thousand. Now he needs $60,000. He needs $60,000 more because he wasn't astute enough to look in to see if the drains work properly, and now there's a lawsuit, and then he wants $30,000 of that for the attorney. So this is what I'm talking about, is that you go ahead and you vote on something that you're going to give somebody $150,000, but you don't know if they even have the money yet, and I'm saying that they owe $177,000 right now.
I don't want to get into
because of violations.
I don't
with
either.
you, but
I don't want to answer. I'm telling you what is happening.
What year is that document?
2011. Your meeting is on September 29th of 2011. You might want to put that on your calendar, sir.
No, the document that they owe $177,000 is 2011?
Yes.
Okay.
I think my 3 minutes are up. It would be really nice if you guys could meet with the citizens that you represent as you spend their money over and over again. There's a Brown Act, I believe. Pardon?
I just wanted to comment, when you're asking about does the harbor have that money, CSA is paying for that.
Is that the ones who, like you guys put the money aside to keep for the PBC cleanup, but that was used for something else, or it's already gone? Is it already got, it might already be gone yet. You're assuming they still have it. So you're going to give them a loan that you assume they can pay back.
Is there other public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the council and...
To poll the vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Well, our motion was first, so we're going to vote
right,
first.
please.
Okay.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Supervisor McClure?
Yes.
Chair McNeamer?
Yes. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you both vote for the council, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Ania?
Yes.
Councilmember Westfall? Councilmember Shalong?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murray?
Yes.
And Mayor Slurt.
Yes. So the motion carries for both the city and the county unanimously. Thank you.
I am happy to be in cahoots with you all.
We are too.
You know, just before we adjourn, I just want to address that too. You know, we've done this a few times, and we've made progress every time. And on one amendment, I think there's a letter Q and the others are, and 117 and 118. We've been working together, you know, and these are the agreements we came to, and there is fistful of other topics that we continue to work on. To say that we don't work outside the box, to get up and I hate addressing one person, so I'm not going to make mention of anybody in particular, but when people don't listen to what we say we're going to do, when they don't listen to the reports, and then they admonish us for doing what they ask us to do while we're in the middle of doing exactly that, is unconscionable. And I would like to congratulate my fellow council members and supervisors for the great job we are doing on behalf of our constituents in working together to better this community. Thank you all.
Thank you, David. I think at this time we...
Actually, I just had two quick items.
Okay.
I wanted to...
It's not on there. You can't talk about it.
I just wanted to salute the harbor, city, and the county tsunami recovery work crews that have been around our community. They're doing a great job, and we're all benefiting from it. And the other thing that I just mentioned is that I wanted to salute Supervisor McClure for a briefing that she gave the other day regarding the Coastal Commission at the Redwood Empire quarterly meeting at Arcata that several of us attended. And to me, it shows that there's hope in the future with the California Coastal Commission based on the things she shared. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Charles.
That's all I have.
Okay. The county's part of this meeting, meeting is adjourned.
And the council, the city council will adjourn to closed session.